It is great to be back here at ONUG. Last fall, the CTO of Coke joined Alkira in presenting here, and it is with great pleasure that I introduce Jamie Fox, who is with Tekion. And we thought it would be especially interesting to do the compare contrast between Coke's large enterprise view and what Tekion has to say as a white hot startup with their automotive retail cloud. In addition, I think Jamie has just a wonderful perspective with a background in IT on the operations side. And now that was at Tesla and at Casper. And now here at Tekion, he's responsible for all things infrastructure from an architecture, plan, design, implement, and support point of view. So it's really the full soup to nuts. And we really look forward to hearing what he'll have to share about his experience working with Alkira. Jamie, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Danielle. All right, so what is Tekion? So Tekion is a software startup in Silicon Valley focused on building the world's best business applications on the cloud. It was founded by ex-Tesla CIO Jay Vijayan. We were recently valued at over $1 billion, and our core software offering is called Automotive Retail Cloud. So you might be asking yourselves, what is Automotive Retail Cloud? It's not your average DMS, as some may think it to be. It's the first and fastest cloud-native automotive retail platform, delivering outstanding customer service experiences and dealer profitability. And we do this with 4 key pillars: digitization, personalization, trust, and acceleration. And what that culminates in is an incredible experience, not only for the people using the platform inside of our customer locations, but also the customers that come in and interact with those people inside of their dealerships. So what are our business imperatives as we scale? What are my imperatives? Biggest thing, SaaS versus labor. We are, as a software company, we really want to minimize our labor costs and go with technology over just throwing bodies at things. We like to standardize to accelerate. So what that means for us is making sure that we have a solid standardized backbone that can basically accommodate anything that we come across. And then from a technology DNA perspective, we really want to be smart about what we're deploying. We want to not just throw technology at a problem, we want to do it intelligently and have the best and fastest things on the market across the board.
Jamie, perhaps I can interrupt for a second because you have
Sure.
some really interesting ideas here. When you talk about SaaS versus labor, can you make it real? Like, how has your use of Alkira shaped or reformed your hiring plans?
So what Alkira allows us to do is hire holistically talented individuals, not necessarily silo them into a specific role. And what I mean by that is generally you would have a hardcore network engineering team. And we still have network engineers, don't get me wrong, but the majority of our team is really well-rounded, talented technology professionals that understand networking, that understand cloud, and understand the end-to-end infrastructure. And with Alkira, we can lean towards hiring more of them and less pure network engineers simply because the platform allows us to. And it allows them to see things visually instead of digging deep into a router to find a problem. They get everything right at the tip of their fingers.
Awesome, thanks. What I hear you saying is that it's changed the skills and capabilities that you're looking for. Like, I love your term about a holistic engineer. Has it also changed your actual head count requirements?
Yeah, from a network perspective, yes. We actually have really scaled down what the perceived need is for that kind of team, especially from a support perspective too. For us, we can implement all day, but support is where you make it or break it and where you lose customers. And what Alkira does is, what it will do as we continue to onboard more people on the platform, is give us the ability to basically have a support team, just like our implementation and sustainability teams, that can support a platform without fully being a network engineer. And for me, that's a big deal because I can make our team lean and mean, but the support team, we can bulk them up, but they can cover a lot more ground. And so they can get customer issues addressed faster and see things right in front of them.
Awesome, thank you.
So actually, I'll step back. So when we first started deploying Automotive Retail Cloud, we had on-premise equipment. things like print servers, scan servers. There were physical devices in each of these dealerships. And it was great because we had one or two, our pilots, but ultimately it became clear that that was not going to work and it was not going to scale. I mean, if you can imagine managing hundreds, thousands of devices physically in locations that you don't have a lot of control over, it's a nightmare waiting to happen. So what we did is we pulled all of that infrastructure into the cloud. But that posed a whole nother set of challenges because now instead of using local LAN interaction, we required site-to-site VPN, we required IPsec tunnels, and it was fine because we had a few dealers on the platform. We could basically take our pick. We could use cloud managed routers. We could use AWS direct VPN. But as we started to scale, it became a little bit of a struggle. And then it became a lot more of a struggle because it gets more and more complex. It's not super reliable. And especially if you consider what we have as our environment, our customers own their spaces. We don't end-to-end manage everything. We don't have full visibility or full control, which is the exact opposite from what I came from, where we would tear down buildings, build it exactly how we want, and have complete knowledge of what was going on. We really needed to design for what I call the unknown, but what that really means is that standardizing to accelerate model where you have a standard backbone that can accommodate just about anything that gets thrown at you. The other big challenges that we ran into with this setup is manual recovery. So a lot of times AWS VPN, if a customer is closed on a Sunday, it will actually shut down the VPN tunnel. And then they come in on a Monday morning, the Monday rush, cars coming in, and they can't do anything. They can't access any of their physical services. They can't print, they can't scan. And while some of us may think that printing and scanning is antiquated and old, it is still a core element from a legality perspective for customers and for our customers. So it's mission critical for us to make sure that we can deliver those services time and time again with reliability. The other biggest challenges were limited scale and limited visibility, especially on the AWS side, not necessarily on the cloud router side. Visibility is pretty poor. Monitoring is poor unless you get really, really customized from a management perspective and an alerting perspective. So we really needed a solution that gave us the best of everything, but allowed us to be as general as possible to accommodate everything from a single mom and pop, single point dealer anywhere in the country and the world really, to a large enterprise group that has a really, really robust, centralized, managed, engineered network.
So in other words, you wanted something which was completely standardized and completely flexible?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. So like I was talking about, our design requirements got very, very complex, very fast. But at the same time, we needed to make sure that what we were going to go with didn't make things even worse and actually made it a lot easier, even though our complexity was accelerating at the same time. So we needed to accelerate the ability to actually provision networks. Our business is scaling. And so our resources, like we were talking about, we're not hiring resources like maybe we could have to keep up with that kind of scale. And it's not a bad thing because we're using tools that allow us to not hire that much, but we needed to accelerate our network provisioning in order to make sure that we could do things quickly and not impede any progress across the organization. Because we're really the gatekeepers for a lot of things across the board during our implementations, during support. The network has to be provisioned fast and it has to be reliable in order for other people to have their jobs, allow them to do their jobs and unlock everything they have to do. The other big thing is our entire team travels a lot. We're always on the road. So we needed a super reliable network, one that we could count on, one that had auto recovery, and one that we knew maybe if we're on an airplane or we're on a customer site, we don't have to drop everything and address a network problem like we would with these one-off VPN tunnels we were terminating to all sorts of different places. And finally, one of the biggest things for us is that we are going multi-cloud from an infrastructure perspective, at least in my organization. So everything that we deliver, we're looking for the best workload possible, whether that's in Azure, whether it's in AWS. And so we needed flexibility on the cloud side that didn't interrupt our business on the customer side. And when I mean interrupt, I mean make it invisible to them where we're servicing them from. Whereas if we kept our old model, we would have to either engineer the solution that Alkira provides ourselves and then manage it and scale it accordingly, or have our customers terminate to multiple locations or change as we moved our workloads around, which as you start to scale your business can get really, really cumbersome and frustrating, not only internally, but more frustrating for your customers. And then finally, we want to streamline our operations. So visibility and troubleshooting for us, we need to be quick. We need to get people back up and running fast and identify root causes quickly. So what we have today is not a reflection of this, but this is what our ideal state looks like. And I'll walk you through some of it. So what we have is we will have a global network of cloud service exchange points. We will service our customers no matter where they are in North America and wherever we may go. And we also have our offices in APAC in India. We have offices in the United States, and we need to provide a single point for them to potentially come into Alkira to get internal workloads from AWS and Azure, support our customers, and also get in securely when they are remote. So what Alkira does for us is allow us to basically realize all of this without making any huge architectural changes and using one-click provisioning to put cloud service exchanges anywhere we want in the world.
That's really awesome, Jamie. Basically, as soon as you are signing dealers in geographies outside of North America, you can instantly match that with Tekion infrastructure, which is available to support those dealers.
That's correct.
Instantly.
Yeah. Yeah, what we really wanted to design for, which is the approach we take from a physical technology standpoint, is, and this has been the core of how we did everything basically in my entire career, is having scaled to 40 plus countries, you need to make sure that the experience you put in place is the exact same no matter where you go. And for us, that not only means the physical piece, but from the network side, we can now offer the best possible and the same experience in basically anywhere that we go.
It's great.
So what are some of the big benefits that Alkira provides my team and ultimately Tekion as we start to look at accelerating our business? One of the biggest things for me is provisioning time. And I've used this phrase in conversation with Danielle and team, but really we're talking about going from days to minutes, no matter where we go. We have specific pieces of information from our customers, and we can provision and actually bring up their endpoint in a matter of minutes and be off to the races. And this has huge advantages for us as we move customers quickly onto our platform. We can basically provision the physical side as quickly as we can provision the cloud side. It gives us the opportunity for global scale. So no matter where we go, we don't need to re-architect our solution. We can simply depend on the cloud services exchange for that flexibility and the same provisioning time and speed that we have experienced here in the United States. Hand in hand with global scale is exponential business growth. They can keep up with us and move at whatever speed we choose to. And then finally, uptime and reliability. We have SLAs for our customers, and they need to depend on us to make sure that when they want to leverage their infrastructure, that it's functioning to the best possible way. And I have multi-cloud expansion on here, and that's what I talked about earlier, is no matter what workload we put in what cloud, Alkira can be there to keep us connected to the Cloud Services Exchange and keep our customers experiencing that best-in-class service, whether we put it in AWS like it is today, or move things to Azure or wherever we want to put stuff in the future.
That's great. One of the things I'm wondering about, Jamie, when you talk about the exponential business growth, and tying this back to your comments earlier about standardization and flexibility, I'm just wondering if the ability to use Alkira to have this globally routed fabric that can extend to any of your customers' physical endpoints, how that is tying into the sales process at Tekion. Basically, is that helping you? Is this ability to have that kind of flexibility helping to drive your growth?
Yeah, so we're flexible in nature as a company. We have 30-day cancellation on our contracts, so they're essentially month to month. We don't charge any margin on hardware. So, we like to be flexible, and we like to make it as easy as possible for dealers to move to our platform. But a lot of times, in any sort of change in software, especially in this space, there's a really, really expensive, but also just painful process of changing your infrastructure to accommodate what you're going to. And for us, we were challenged to design a solution that can basically play in whatever sandbox it wants to play in, whether that's Tekion managing end-to-end a fully managed network, which we do, or it's Tekion with zero presence in a dealership or in a customer site and simply spinning an endpoint up for their IT teams and network teams to interconnect with us for the services that we need to serve to them physically.
It's great. Something else you said was really making me smile. You're a born in the cloud company, and you talked about going from days to minutes. You attended Alkira's customer advisory board a couple months back and heard from lots of our large enterprise customers who talk about the difference in months to minutes. It's the same story. It's just, you're of course operating at closer to cloud speed. Just curious, what are some of the other things that you think are either similar or different to the challenges that exist between a company like Tekion and a large enterprise? Again, you've been on both sides of the fence, so maybe a little compare and contrast would be fun for the audience.
Yeah, so in speaking to Matt from Coke, we have very, very similar problems, albeit at a little bit different scale. And we have different challenges to solve the same exact problem, right? They manage a completely, hugely robust global network infrastructure, but they also have a huge problem with onboarding into the cloud, being flexible, and there's this big demand for speed and flexibility that they're getting internally in a seemingly very, very well-oiled, slower kind of machine of a company. At the same time, we are moving at tachyon speed, as we call it, and having to onboard and be flexible and be quick at the same time. So I think the similarities is that we want the speed and the agility and the flexibility. And it doesn't matter what your underlying infrastructure is. I think that is the root problem that everyone is coming up against as people are putting more and more workloads and things into the cloud specifically.
Yeah. Jamie, it's such an honor to be associated with you and with Tekion. You guys are going places, and it's just wonderful to be a part of the journey with you. So many, many thanks for joining us here today and for sharing your story. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle.